Right now, at this exact moment, someone's mother, someone's father, someone's spouse is sitting in a doctor's office learning for the first time that the memories they thought were just senior moments are not coming back. Here are the numbers no one puts on the news. 1 in 3 seniors will die with Alzheimer's or another dementia. That's not a typo. 1 in 3. By 2050, the Alzheimer's Association projects the number of Americans living with Alzheimer's will nearly double, from 7 million today to 13 million. And here is the number that stopped me cold when I first saw it in the New England Journal of Medicine. Dementia-related brain changes begin accumulating up to 20 years before a single symptom appears. 20 years! That means if you're 70 today and you're going to develop dementia, the damage may have started when you were 50. Now here's why I'm telling you this, not to scare you, but because there's a second half to that research that almost nobody talks about. Up to 40% of dementia cases are potentially preventable. 40%, lifestyle modifiable, starting today. My name is Dr. Frank Briggs. I spent 20 years as a family physician before I retired at 65. I've sat across the desk from families devastated by this disease more times than I want to count. And I made a promise to myself when I retired. I was going to spend the rest of my life making sure people had the information their doctors don't have time to give them in a 12-minute appointment. Today, I'm giving you 12 science-backed strategies, not opinions, not trends, peer-reviewed, published, and proven. Stay until number 12 because I saved the most counterintuitive finding I've ever seen in 20 years of medicine for last. It may change how you think about your brain entirely. Let's go. If you are between 60 and 85 years old, this video was made specifically for you, not for someone who already has dementia. There's a different conversation for that. This is for you, the person who still has their full faculties, who wakes up some mornings and notices it takes a second longer to find the word you want, or you walk into a room and just for a moment you can't remember why you came in. Those moments are your brain talking to you, and if you know how to listen, and more importantly, how to respond, those moments don't have to become something worse. Before we get into the 12 strategies, I need to tell you about a patient of mine, John Locke, 75 years old. His story is the reason I make these videos, and I'm going to come back to John around the halfway point, because what happened to him, and more importantly, what turned it around, is directly tied to strategy number 7. Keep John in the back of your mind. All right, let's start at number 1. I'm starting here because it's the one most people dismiss. I already know about blood pressure, doc. But here's what you don't know. A landmark 2020 analysis published in The Lancet, one of the most respected medical journals in the world, identified high blood pressure in midlife as one of the single most modifiable risk factors for dementia. Not just cardiovascular disease, dementia. Here's the mechanism. Elevated blood pressure, anything consistently above 130/80, creates micro-damage in the small vessels that supply blood to your brain. Over years, that micro-damage accumulates into what neurologists call white matter lesions. These lesions don't just sit there passively. They disrupt the communication pathways between different regions of your brain. The good news? A clinical trial called SprintMind showed that aggressively managing blood pressure, targeting under 120 systolic, reduced the risk of mild cognitive impairment by 19%, published in JAMA, Real Numbers, Real People. Know your number, not from a year ago, today.
Get a home blood pressure cuff. They're under $30 at any pharmacy. Take it at the same time every morning before coffee. Log it for 2 weeks, then take that log to your doctor. This one surprises almost everyone I tell it to. Hearing loss is dementia's silent accomplice. Research from Johns Hopkins, led by Dr. Frank Lin, followed 639 adults over 12 years and found that mild hearing loss doubled the risk of dementia. Moderate hearing loss tripled it. Severe hearing loss 5 times the risk.
Why? 2 leading theories. First, when your brain has to work overtime just to decode sounds, filling in what it missed, constantly straining, it depletes cognitive resources that would otherwise go to memory consolidation and executive function. Second, hearing loss leads to social withdrawal, and social isolation is itself an independent dementia risk factor. A 2023 randomized controlled trial published in The Lancet showed that hearing aids in older adults with hearing loss reduced cognitive decline by 48% over 3 years. 48% from a hearing aid. If you're turning the TV up past 40, asking people to repeat themselves, or struggling in restaurants, get a hearing evaluation this year, not eventually, this year. Quick pause right here. I want to know something about you. Down in the comments, tell me, what was the last time you had your blood pressure checked and your hearing checked in the same year? And if the answer is, I can't remember, that's your answer. I read every comment personally, every single one. Type it right now while it's fresh. I'll be down there. Exercise is not news, but which exercise and how much is still wildly misunderstood in the senior population. A landmark study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that aerobic activity, walking, swimming, cycling, actually increases the volume of the hippocampus, the brain's primary memory center, by 2% in older adults. Meanwhile, a sedentary control group lost 1.4% of hippocampal volume over the same period. 2% doesn't sound like much until you realize the hippocampus shrinks with age, and shrinkage there is one of the earliest, most consistent markers of Alzheimer's progression. The prescription from the research is 150 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic activity per week. That's 30 minutes, 5 days, not marathons, a brisk walk where you can talk but not sing. Resistance training twice a week has separately been shown to improve executive function and reduce amyloid plaque accumulation, the toxic protein most associated with Alzheimer's. If you are currently sedentary, your first goal is 10 minutes of walking today, not tomorrow, today. The research on neuroplasticity is unambiguous. Even late starters benefit significantly. 2 diets have been specifically researched for brain protection: the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. Researchers at Rush University Medical Center combined the best elements of both and called it the MIND diet, Mediterranean Dash Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. The results: people who followed the MIND diet strictly showed cognitive function equivalent to people 7.5 years younger than their chronological age. And those who followed it only moderately well still reduced their Alzheimer's risk by 35%. The brain-specific foods this diet emphasizes: leafy greens, at least 6 servings per week, kale, spinach, collards; berries, especially blueberries and strawberries, at least twice weekly; fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, at least once weekly; olive oil as your primary cooking fat; nuts, a handful daily; beans, at least 4 meals per week; and what to minimize: red meat, butter, cheese, fried foods, pastries, and most critically for our audience, refined sugar.
A 2022 study in Alzheimer's and dementia found a direct dose-response relationship between ultra-processed food consumption and accelerated cognitive decline. You don't have to flip your diet overnight. Pick one food from the protective list and add it to tomorrow's breakfast. Blueberries in your oatmeal. Done. Here is one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience in the last 20 years, and I'd wager most of you have never heard of it. Your brain has its own waste removal system called the glymphatic system. It was discovered in 2013 by Dr. Maiken Nedergaard at the University of Rochester and published in Science. During deep sleep, specifically slow-wave sleep, cerebrospinal fluid pulses through channels around your brain's blood vessels and flushes out metabolic waste, including amyloid beta, including tau proteins, the toxic proteins most associated with Alzheimer's. Your brain literally cleans itself during sleep. Here's the problem. The glymphatic system is nearly inactive when you're awake, and it becomes significantly less effective with disrupted or shortened sleep. A study in Nature Communications showed that even one night of sleep deprivation increased amyloid beta levels in the human brain by 5%. Chronic poor sleep, and we're talking less than 6 hours per night consistently, is associated with a 30% increased risk of dementia, according to research published in Nature Aging in 2021. Target 7 to 8 hours. Keep your bedroom cool, around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. No screens for 60 minutes before bed. This is not optional self-care. This is brain detoxification. The longest-running study of adult life in history, the Harvard Study of Adult Development, now over 85 years old, found that the quality of your relationships is more predictive of late-life health and cognitive function than cholesterol levels, blood pressure, or genetics. A 2022 study in neurology found that people who reported frequent loneliness had a 40% higher risk of dementia compared to those who felt connected. Here's the mechanism. Social interaction forces your brain to engage multiple cognitive domains simultaneously: language processing, emotional regulation, theory of mind, memory retrieval. It's literally cross-training for your prefrontal cortex. And unlike crossword puzzles, which mainly strengthen the specific skills used in crossword puzzles, real human interaction is unpredictable, requiring your brain to adapt in real time. Make one social plan this week that requires you to leave your house, not a phone call, an in-person, face-to-face interaction. Commit to it right now. All right, now I want to come back to John Locke. John was 75 when his daughter brought him to see me. Retired engineer, meticulous, proud man. His wife had passed 3 years earlier, and since then, gradual withdrawal. He stopped going to his woodworking club, stopped calling his old college friends. His daughter said, "Dad seems foggy. He repeats questions. He forgot my birthday." John had been told by a previous doctor, "At your age, some memory loss is normal. Just do crossword puzzles and stay positive." That advice, while well-intentioned, was incomplete, and over 3 years, John's brain paid the price. When I evaluated John, his blood pressure was 148/94. He was sleeping 5 hours a night because of undiagnosed sleep apnea. He was eating almost entirely processed food because cooking for one felt pointless, and he hadn't had a meaningful social interaction in months. Every single modifiable risk factor unaddressed, all of them simultaneously. The lesson isn't that John did something wrong. The lesson is that the standard advice he received didn't give him a system. It gave him platitudes. We treated his sleep apnea. We got his blood pressure into the safe zone. We got him back to his woodworking club. 12 months later, his daughter told me, Dad remembered my birthday and my husband's birthday. He even sent a card. The brain's plasticity doesn't disappear at 75. That's the depth pivot I promised you. Most people believe brain decline is a one-way door. The research says otherwise. A 2019 study published in PLOS One showed that even in adults aged 70 to 80, consistent lifestyle intervention produced measurable improvements in hippocampal connectivity and working memory scores within 6 months. 6 months. The brain you have today is not the ceiling, it's the floor. Chronic stress doesn't just feel bad, it physically damages your hippocampus. Sustained high cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, has been shown in research published in Nature Reviews Neuroscience to cause dendritic atrophy in hippocampal neurons. The branches that neurons use to communicate with each other literally shrink. A 25-year prospective study found that women who reported high stress in their 40s had double the risk of dementia later in life compared to those with lower stress levels. The evidence-based interventions include mindfulness meditation. As few as 8 weeks of practice reduces cortisol and increases gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, diaphragmatic breathing, and, critically for seniors, naming and processing grief. Many of my older patients carry enormous unprocessed loss. That chronic grief is a cortisol pump. I want to pause for our second comment question, and this one I want you to share. Of the 7 strategies we've covered so far, blood pressure, hearing, exercise, diet, sleep, social connection, and stress, which one are you doing really well, and which one is your biggest gap right now? Type it below. And here's what I'm asking you to do. If you have a spouse, a sibling, a friend over 60, share this video with them right now and ask them the same question. Tag them in the comments. The people who watch this together and hold each other accountable are the ones who actually change. That's not a theory. That's what my patients taught me. Some researchers now refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes, a term first proposed in a landmark paper in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. The reasoning, insulin resistance in the brain disrupts the same cellular signaling pathways that are compromised in Alzheimer's. A long-term study in Diabetologia found that people with type 2 diabetes have up to 65% higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. And here's the critical detail. You don't need to be diabetic for elevated blood sugar to damage your brain. Even pre-diabetic levels, fasting blood glucose consistently above 100, are associated with accelerated hippocampal atrophy. Ask your doctor to check your HbA1c at your next visit. This single number gives you a 3-month picture of your average blood sugar. Know your number. A reading under 5.7% is normal. 5.7 to 6.4% is pre-diabetic and fully reversible through diet and exercise. This is not about crossword puzzles. I need to be very specific here because the crossword puzzle advice is everywhere and it's too narrow. The concept of cognitive reserve, your brain's resilience buffer against damage, is built through genuinely novel learning that forces new neural pathway formation. Research published in Neuron shows that learning a new language, mastering a musical instrument, or acquiring a new complex skill creates structural changes in the brain that can effectively delay the expression of dementia symptoms even after pathological changes have begun. The key word is novel. Once something becomes routine, even mentally demanding routine, it's no longer building reserve. Your brain needs to be genuinely uncomfortable with what it's doing. Pick one truly new skill this month: a language app, a beginner's drawing class, learning to play ukulele. It doesn't matter what. It matters that it's new and that it makes you feel slightly incompetent at first. That feeling is your neurons forming new connections. I know this one isn't popular, but I made a commitment to honesty over comfort, so here it is. A 2018 study published in The Lancet, a 30-year longitudinal study of over 9,000 participants, found that even moderate alcohol consumption was associated with increased risk of dementia. The study concluded there was no completely safe level of alcohol consumption when it comes to brain health. Alcohol is a neurotoxin. In the short term, it impairs the glymphatic system we talked about in Strategy 5, disrupting the very sleep architecture your brain needs to flush amyloid. In the long term, chronic use accelerates brain volume loss, particularly in the frontal and temporal lobes. If you currently drink daily, discuss with your doctor. If you drink socially, consider limiting to no more than one standard drink per occasion. This is one area where everything in moderation may not apply. Depression in older adults is dramatically underdiagnosed and undertreated, and it is not a character flaw or a response to circumstances that you should be able to think your way out of. It is a biological condition with measurable effects on brain structure. A 2021 meta-analysis in JAMA Psychiatry found that late-life depression is associated with a 65% increase in dementia risk. Depression reduces neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells, primarily in the hippocampus. It also increases inflammatory markers that have been independently linked to amyloid accumulation.
The loss of a spouse, the loss of independence, the loss of purpose that sometimes brings. These are real, valid triggers. But grief that settles into clinical depression is not an experience to endure alone. If you have experienced 2 or more weeks of persistent low mood, loss of interest in things you used to enjoy, disrupted sleep, or social withdrawal, please speak to a physician. Effective treatments exist. This is as treatable as high blood pressure. All right, I promised you something counterintuitive, something that changed how I see the brain after 20 years of practice. Here it is. In the Rush Memory and Aging Project, one of the largest ongoing studies of aging and cognition, researchers asked more than 1,500 older adults to rate their sense of purpose in life on a standardized scale. Then they followed them for years and examined their brains post-mortem. The finding was extraordinary. People with high purpose scores showed the same level of Alzheimer's pathology, the same amyloid plaques, the same tau tangles as people with low purpose scores. But the high purpose individuals had shown significantly less cognitive decline during their lifetimes. Their brains were doing more with the same damage. What this means is staggering. Purpose doesn't prevent the physical changes of aging, but it appears to build something we now call psychological reserve, a resilience that allows a brain to continue functioning at a high level even under biological stress. A follow-up analysis found that people with strong purpose had a 2.4 times greater likelihood of remaining free of Alzheimer's and mild cognitive impairment, published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. What is purpose? It's knowing that your life has direction, that you matter to someone or something, that tomorrow holds something worth getting up for. And purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be a garden, a grandchild, volunteering one afternoon a week, writing down the stories your grandchildren should hear. The research suggests that finding and maintaining purpose may be the single most powerful thing you can do for your brain because it influences almost every other variable on this list. People with high purpose exercise more, sleep better, maintain stronger social bonds, manage stress more effectively, Eat with more intention. Purpose is the master variable. And here is what I need you to hear right now at the end of this video. If you watched this entire video, you already have purpose because you cared enough about your health, your mind, your future to spend 20+ minutes investing in it. That is not nothing. That is everything. Now, before I let you go, I know what some of you are thinking. I've heard these 3 objections thousands of times in the exam room. Objection 1. I'm already 75. Is it too late? It is not. The Finger Trial, a landmark randomized controlled study from Finland, showed measurable cognitive improvement in adults aged 60 to 77 within 24 months of lifestyle intervention. The plasticity is there. You only lose the option when you stop trying. Objection 2. My mother had Alzheimer's. It's in my genes. There's nothing I can do. Here is what the science actually says. Even carrying the APOE4 gene, the strongest known genetic risk factor for late-onset Alzheimer's, does not make the disease inevitable. Research published in JAMA Neurology found that lifestyle factors accounted for a larger proportion of dementia risk than genetics in most populations. Genes load the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger, or doesn't. Objection 3. I don't know where to start. This is overwhelming. You don't start with 12. You start with 1. Go back to the comment you left earlier. The one gap you identified. That's your 1, not all 12. 1. This week. One small, consistent action is worth infinitely more than a perfect plan you never begin. I want to leave you with something. The fear around dementia is real. I've felt it myself. At 67, I misplace my keys sometimes. I walk into rooms. I forget names I knew 30 years ago. That fear, the kind that makes your stomach drop, it comes from a feeling of helplessness, like the disease is already decided, like the ending is written. It is not. You are not a passive passenger in your own brain's story. You are not broken because you're aging. You are not destined for the outcome you're most afraid of simply because someone you loved experienced it. Your brain is a living, adapting, responding organ that is listening to everything you do. Every walk, every night of good sleep, every real conversation, every new skill, every morning you wake up with something to look forward to. You are building something right now, brick by brick, choice by choice, and that is not hope, that is science. So, here are the 12 strategies list once again. Control your blood pressure. Target under 120/80 systolic. Protect your hearing. Get evaluated. Consider hearing aids if needed. Aerobic exercise 150 minutes per week, plus resistance training 2 times per week. Follow the MIND diet: greens, berries, fish, olive oil, nuts, beans. Prioritize 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Support glymphatic brain flush. Maintain strong social connections, in person, regularly. Manage chronic stress, mindfulness, breathing, process grief. Control your blood sugar. Know your HbA1c number. Learn something genuinely new, novel skill acquisition. Limit alcohol, no truly safe level for brain health. Treat depression. It is a biological brain disease, not a weakness. Cultivate purpose, your master neuroprotective variable. If this video gave you one thing, one fact, one action, one moment of "I didn't know that," will you do me a favor and hit the like button? It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube that this information is worth sharing with the people who need it. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe right now.
I publish new research-based senior health content every single week. Just the information I wish I'd had more time to give my patients. I'll see you in the comments. Tell me which strategy you're starting with. I'm Dr. Frank Briggs. Take care of that brain. It's the only one you've got, and it's worth fighting for.